Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and that there is Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
We are talking about budgets, financial plans.
All kinds of fun, boring stuff. People are like sleeping now.
No, they're not sleeping. They're riddled with anxiety.
Oh, okay.
If they're anything like me, they're petrified of this conversation. No, I should say so much of this, and we talked about beliefs and behaviors and all these things that go into this. This is where I really need to leverage changing my belief system around money to make this work. And so I'm really looking forward to having this conversation. Before we do that, head over to TakeControlADHD.com, get to know us a little bit better, listen to the show right there on the website, or subscribe to the mailing list, and make sure you get each update as it goes live. We would love to share it with you. You can also subscribe for free in iTunes, or connect with us on Twitter and Facebook at TakeControlADHD, and call us. Leave us a voicemail at 503-664-4ADD. Get your voice and your thoughts on this show, 503-664-4ADD. All right, here we go. Right. Financial plan, budget.
All right, very good. Well, first of all,
follow-up.
Yes, well, I have a suggestion from an email that I got from a longtime listener of the show. Her name is Corinne.
Oh, we love her.
Yes, and she gave me a good idea. You know, when we were talking about credit cards and impulse shopping and things like that. Well, she sent an email saying that on the clutterdiet.com website, they have a wallet reminder that you can put in your wallet to remind you of considerations before making a purchase. And so we'll put that into the show notes. But what this little card cutout is basically these questions to ask yourself before you make a purchase. And they're great questions. I'm just going to go through them really quickly so people can kind of get an idea of, I need to pause before I buy.
Yeah, excellent.
But questions. Okay, so who owns this already and might share it with me? What do I already have that is like this? Where will this be stored? When will I have time to use it and maintain it? And why do I want to buy this? All really great, thought-provoking questions to again, push that pause button and really think about what you need, what you want, what's your reason, behind all of this. So
it's wonderful. Yeah, it's like a little meditation you can do before you. I mean, if you get good at asking those questions, it's like a very quick meditation you can do as you walk up to the cash register.
That's right. And you have it in your wallet. That's what the whole point is to cut it out and have it in your wallet.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's, put it right next to your credit card so you can't forget.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Corinne. I appreciate that tip, and I'm sure our listeners do as well. All right.
Yes, here we go.
Here we go. So I thought, the best way to kind of design this show is to kind of split it up into two parts. What is a financial plan? And then we can kind of talk about budgeting a little bit. And according to Wikipedia.
I think that's how they originally pronounced it. It's evolved over the years.
Wikipedia. I thought it was a very generic, good explanation of what a financial plan is. In general usage, a financial plan is a comprehensive evaluation of someone's current and future financial state by using currently known variables to predict future cash flows, assets, values, and withdrawal plans. Now, a financial plan can also, and I believe, gonna throw that in there, my own beliefs, should include estate planning. So having a will, because you just never know what can happen. And you certainly want your family and estate to be protected and have it be allocated the way that you desire. And a will or a trust will certainly do this for you.
Yeah, we're doing that right now. It's actually funny. I'm working on that with my parents, who are now updating their trust and making sure that all the names are updated and everything. And I just got it yesterday. My dad says, "Hey, review this and let me know what you think." It's already been notarized and submitted to and finalized. And I looked at it, and he had the attorney had done a copy and paste thing and typed my son's name throughout So,
oh, really?
Yeah, and
Wow.
it's a real pain to go back through and amend those things afterwards. So, it's one of those little things. It's funny to look at what goes into them, the language you need to use to get them. There are lots of resources for you to put together a will or a trust yourself through services like LegalZoom, but they are incredibly important and allow you to be, I think, just the nature of putting these together allow you to be incredibly thorough in analyzing, addressing your financial and material status.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So with a financial plan, and also like you were saying with the will or trust, there's a lot of different ways that you can get help with it. Professionals, there's lots of professionals out there that can help you with this. What I find, using a professional for our situation, it seemed to work because they're the experts, not me. And so it saved me time for them. And there's some trust, that goes into this, for them to recommend things for me and my family. And I didn't have to do the research. And I also think it kind of gives you that third party perspective and gives you kind of an honest opinion about your situation without really being influenced. And so, if you're looking at setting up a financial plan, I think going to a professional is a great idea. There is a little bit of a difference between financial advisors and accountants. And this may seem obvious, but really when I looked this up, I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. They're not the same role. Accountants typically will work with you in regards to your taxes, as financial advisors are typically going to help you with your investments and planning long-term, for like retirement, college, education, things like that. For a while, we actually had our financial advisor and accountant, they worked in the same building. And so whenever we met, we always met with both of them. And that helped.
Oh, that's handy,
that was great. But not, of course, that doesn't happen everywhere, and it doesn't have to happen that way. But if you can find it, it is certainly nice to get both perspectives. So a couple of things just to kind of keep in mind when you are looking for somebody, either a financial advisor or accountant. Things that we did is we asked for referrals from other people. We had sort of that initial meeting with them and kind of went off our instinct. Do we trust this person? Do we feel comfortable with them? Do we feel like they're just selling to us? Because I am big on that. Like, I don't like being sold to. And if I feel like you're selling something to me and you're pushing too hard, then I think you're doing something bad.
Oh, totally. Yes.
Like I'm going to lose money in this deal somehow.
Yeah, right. And I think there is a natural kind of skepticism that a lot of us have in working with, in advisors talking about investments. I mean, I know at least for us, like there is a natural sense that somebody is, particularly if you don't know how your financial advisor is making money.
Right.
Because, a lot of financial advisors you don't pay. Yeah. Right. They make their money off of your investments in some way, shape, or form, or off of some sort of shared kind of distribution with their firm. That it's kind of hard to take on faith 100% of their advice. So you've got to be really, you kind of have to have that trust radar really working overtime. I think it's just hard, particularly also dealing with ADHD. You're not always sure that you're able to grasp all the information at once that you might need to make a good decision.
Well, and that's a really good point. And that, I would say before making any decisions, don't make decisions right away, like in that first initial meeting. Like I would take the information they're giving you and take it home, have somebody else review it with you, even get a second opinion if you want. And that kind of can help you decide whether or not it really is the right plan for you, or is there an alternative motive, right? So yeah, I think that's a great point, is wait to make any decisions for sure.
Right.
Now I'm going off of my own experience, when I first started meeting with a planner. And so, just to kind of give people an idea of what to expect, they're going to ask you lots of questions. They're going to ask you about your income, your taxes, assets, debts. They're going to ask you about your future goals around retirement. When do you want to retire? How much money, like what's the lifestyle that you want when you retire? What's important to you? Do you want to travel? Do you want to stay, home, but in a smaller house? I mean, there's all these different things that you kind of have to think about. They're going to consider your age. And then they're going to look at these factors, and what I got this next time we met them. I got this fancy report with lots of graphs and numbers of like where you are now and what they're recommending. And it can get really confusing. So basically we would just sit through and look at the report, and they answered every question we had so that it was more clear about what they were recommending. And so that just gives you kind of an idea. That first appointment is kind of gathering the information. Second appointment is really getting that report back. And then again, what we were talking about with the decision making is just take the report back and just sit on it for a little while and see what you want to do.
Yeah, right.
I think there are benefits to having a plan. I mean, I think it helps define your goals. You're not just sort of winging through life thinking, well, yeah, I'll retire someday. I mean, this really puts your finances in your control. And I think that this is a big deal for couples, for people who, are either married or have a lifetime commitment where they know they're going to be, living together. You need to talk about this stuff. Do your goals match? Do you guys want the same things? And
absolutely.
So this is an opportunity to do that. It also gives you an idea of how realistic your goals are. They can kind of help you plan, if you really want this is what you're going to need to do. So either that's saving more money, reducing debt, adding more income, whatever it is. It keeps things in more realistic terms, which I think is important.
And you mentioned the spouse thing. Can you talk practically? How do you and your husband deal with this stuff? Like, do you guys have a regular gig where you meet and talk finance?
Well, I mean, I think throughout our marriage we probably have, and I've shared this before on the show that when we were first together, I knew right away that our beliefs around money were a little bit different. When he got that bonus and he invested it, and I'm like, oh man, I would have gone to the mall.
You got lucky with him. Huh? It's serious.
Yeah. So I mean, right up front, we knew our beliefs were a little bit different. I think that over time, I became more conservative with how we spend money and how we save. We also have a different situation than a lot of people do because of his disability. And so we've had to really keep that in mind going, future, forward thinking. But that's not unusual. I mean, I think everybody should think about that. What happens if a spouse gets hurt? What happens if they do get disabled? What's your plan? I mean, I not to be pessimistic, but not in a million years did I ever think we'd be in the situation we were in either when we first got married.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. And I think that over time, it just became, finances is just such an important piece of your livelihood. It's, it's not something to just wing.
Yeah. God, boy, that's the truth. We do, and I know I've talked about this too, but we definitely do a weekly finance coffee. Have I talked about our finance coffee?
Yeah, you do it like on Sunday nights or Mondays or something, right?
Now we actually do it in the middle of the week when the kids are both at school, and we actually put it on the calendar, invite each other on each other's calendars, and we meet at a different coffee shop each week. And that has done an amazing thing for us. The experience of going to a different coffee shop each week. It's like fun. It's like entertaining. Like not only are we doing our money, but we are tasting different coffees and chais, and we're experiencing different places.
You're putting the fun in money management.
Yeah, see?
That's what you're doing.
It's funny management. That's what it is.
I love that.
So we have become really sort of practical about it. And I think that a lot of it starts with us just having as simple a tracking machine as we possibly can. And I know we can talk a little bit more about that, but I do want to share a little bit about our initial debt reduction plan and now what has become our kind of overall spreadsheet that helps us track our goals, because that's become hugely important for us and something we were not thinking about.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, so it all started, a financial advisor hooked us up with Dave Ramsey's Snowball Debt Reduction Plan. Are you familiar with this?
Well, I'm familiar with Dave Ramsey, and he's actually in our show notes. I have a couple of his books that I recommend.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I think, I think he's very much a, tells it like it is kind of guy, and he's not full of a lot of hot air. And I can say that only because I've tried this strategy for many years and it has worked for us. It started with a snowball debt reduction plan. And basically the idea is, and you can read about, I'll put the link in the show notes about how the debt snowball works. You put all of your debts in a line with the interest rates and the total balances and the minimum monthly payment in a different column, and you put them in order, smallest debt to largest debt, right? And really regardless of interest rate. So in my case at the time, I had, a Chase credit card at 27% interest that was just ridiculous. And a line of credit at 16%. I mean, these were things that were just, crazy. And yet his plan says, have faith, start with the smallest total balance first. And then, you look at how much extra money do you have each month? Could you cobble together overall up and above the minimum payment, the total minimum payment? Could you put an extra $50 in, or $100 or $200, so that your minimum payment for your smallest debt is whatever the minimum payment is plus that $200, right? Mm-hmm. And then you start seeing that go away. And in this case, my first debt was what I had remaining on a car. And that went away over the course of about 12 months. And it was originally supposed to take, 18 or whatever. And then you take that total minimum plus 200 that you were paying on the car, and you just take it and put it straight toward the next debt. You don't even have there's no thinking about it. If it's auto payment, you take that additional, whatever it is, say it's another $500, and that is added to your minimum payment on your next largest debt, right? So you can kind of see where this is going.
Right.
As you pay off each of these smaller debts, you're adding the minimum payment to the next largest debt. So by the time you get down to the really big debts, the school loans, the mortgages, whatever, you're making payments that are much larger. In the case of a mortgage, by the time you get to say your mortgage is $1,500 a month, maybe you're making a $3,000 payment, and suddenly your mortgage goes from 30 years to 15 years. So
okay, so that was going to be my question: is you're not just talking about credit card debt, you're talking about all of the debt,
you're talking
including mortgage, cars, anything like that.
Well, and that's the secret, right? Is putting all of our debt, because a debt's a debt. And I know a lot of people don't kind of believe that, but psychologically for me, the way my brain works, if I'm paying money to a third-party service, that's a debt.
Right,
right. And it's whether it's at 3% or 15%, it's a debt, and I want it out of my life. I got in trouble with it, and I need to clean house, right? I recognize debt can be healthy, if you want to buy a car and you carry a bit of a debt, but having a lot of debt and not having a plan to get out of it is a problem. So, but where this became a financial plan for us is to stop thinking about the snowball in terms of just debts, right? Mm-hmm. But to start thinking of it in terms of long-term goals too. Right. Let's say we want to have just a safety net of, $15,000. Right. Mm-hmm. Let's just say we want to have cash of $15,000. We put that on our debt reduction plan and start making minimum payments toward it. Right?
Like it's a debt. But we're actually paying ourselves that debt, right? And it ends up being rolled into the way we think about where our money goes. So we end up paying ourselves every month in addition to paying off these debts. And we're instead earning interest on our own money. So we actually have, you look at our list in our bank, they make it so easy. I mean, you and I have the same bank, so you know of this, and I'm sure you are plagued with it too. They make it really easy to just set up on the fly new savings accounts, like on the web. You don't talk to anybody. You just click. Oh, look, it's a savings account. Right.
And so we have like 20 savings accounts, right? Because we set up a separate savings account for all of our goals. Anything we're planning. If I want to buy a new piece of technology, I'm going to set up a separate account for it, and it's going to be my gadget account. And I'm going to put a little bit in each month until I get that goal.
Pete, you're inspiring me.
It becomes
I want to stop this podcast and I want to do something different with my savings accounts.
It's so great. Useful. And I just set up my daughter. She's got bless her, she's so sweet. she loves, she's not a big fan of, and we've talked about this. She has the trickle down iPhone, right? She has an iPhone that used to be mine, and she doesn't use it all that much. She's not really a technical person, but I got the Apple Watch and she loves the Apple Watch.
You have a daughter who's not a technical person?
I know. No, I know. It's the weirdest thing, but she adores the Apple Watch. She adores it. And she has decided and she just started wearing a watch not long ago. And she's decided that that's what she wants to do. She wants an Apple Watch, right?
She wants to save for it.
Exactly. So she started babysitting. She went to the babysitting class and the first aid class. And now she's like, everything I do. So we logged into the bank together, and she has a little savings account. We set up a separate account that's, her watch, and we get to talk about how much she saves for long term, how much she can spend, how much she puts toward this little gadget fund, and in no time at all, she's got $100 in that little gadget fund that she's buying herself. But she understands kind of the importance of how these savings goals work, and that is all because of this snowball thing. So I imagine once we get our debts paid off, we're still going to have the snowball plan in place. It's going to be our snowball savings plan, because with everything that we save, with we have this money that we are currently allocating toward debt. How powerful would that be if it was allocated toward our own investment in ourselves and our family?
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Well,
I'm totally inspired.
It's pretty cool. I really like the way to think about it. And it's the thing that makes it work for me is it's so simple.
Yeah.
Once you get the little spreadsheet set up, it's like you don't have to be an accountant, a CPA to actually understand it.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because when I was talking about some of the tips that I put together for the budget, like how to set up a budget, Dave Ramsey's budgeting forms, which you can get on his website and they're free, you can download them, is where I started. I took those forms, and that's where I started with just the creating a budget, trying to figure out where we were tracking our spending and figuring out where our money was going and stuff. So just to kind of piggyback what you were saying about his book and what you've learned in this process, when you're just doing a budget, that's where I would start too. Easy to understand, and it's a great way to kind of see how things are being divided and where you need to cut back.
Right. Totally.
And how you need to save for these special savings account and do debt. I mean, I love that. It's great, Pete. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I should write up a blog post on how we do the snowball savings plan, because that's been pretty important for us, and that's not part of his debt reduction plan. So,
well, Pete, Wright, I would like to formally invite you to write a guest blog post for Take Control ADHD. Will you please?
I would gladly write a guest post for Take Control ADHD. I think I know the password.
I think so. Yeah. That's great. Well, hopefully, this stuff helps people, because it gets them started in thinking of some different ways that we do it. I mean, we're not financial experts or advisors by any means, but I know, from the very first show, we know how important money management is with folks with ADHD. So I hope that this gives people some inspiration. You certainly gave me some.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. That makes me very happy.
Yeah. So in the show notes, we're going to have lots of different things. We'll have Dave Ramsey's books that we both recommend, his budgeting forms, a link to his website. There was also an article that I thought was great, 10 Reasons Why Financial Plans Aren't Just for the 1% by Forbes. This is a good read. Because I think some people think, well, I don't make enough money, but that's not true. It doesn't matter how much money you make. They're good things to have. So, lots of great information. The other last thing I wanted to talk about was mint.com. I've used that as a budgeting tool too, and that has helped because they'll give me notifications of when things are due, or if they see unusual spending.
Are you using it now? Are you signed into that now?
Yeah, I am signed into it now. The problem that I have with it, and I'll just be very upfront, I haven't come back to fix it, is because I use the same bank, and even though I have two separate accounts, one for my business and one for my personal, for whatever reason, mint.com is still, they're combining both of those. And so when I go to look at stuff, it's not right, because, well, that was a business expense. That's not a personal expense.
That's a mess.
Yeah. So for me, I got to figure that out. And I just honestly haven't had the time to do it. But what is really interesting and what's helped me even with that kind of glitch is it pops up with, you have unusual spending. Well, when I did the 10-day detox, I had to go to the grocery store and I had to buy a lot of special stuff for this that I didn't have in my pantry, believe it or not. Anchovy paste just wasn't something I had.
Anchovy paste.
And I know coconut oil. I know people love coconut oil, and I just had never used it. So, I mean, it was these like weird things that I guess that's not weird, but I'm like, I don't know what this is. So I had my list. I went to a couple of different grocery stores. Well, I got a notice the next day from mint.com. Unusual grocery shop spending.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'm like, yeah, that's because I'm getting healthy.
Oh my goodness. Mint.com. We don't truck with healthy.
I guess not. So anyway, but what was nice about that is what if somebody had stolen a card? What if somebody, it does alert you of unusual trends or patterns. And I think that's great. We need to know that.
Oh, that's great.
So anyway, enough said on that. There you go.
I love it. So good. I think that's it, right? That wraps us up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, but I do have some things to talk about that's going on over at the website.
Oh, do talk about it.
Yes. So we've got group coaching that is open until September 18th. So that's important. If you're interested, enroll today because space is limited. And I also want to just bring up that we're going into the fall and school is going to be starting. College is going to be starting here. Probably most colleges either have started now or they're going to in September. And I just want to remind people of the ADHD coaching service that I do for college students. And if you have questions about that, please email me and I'd be happy to do a free phone consultation just to find out what you might be looking for and how I can help people who are trying to get that degree.
Oh, so good. Yeah. If you know anybody going back to college, share this, share the link and let them know.
Yeah.
Super useful. Start good habits when you start college. Start
That's
good
right.
habits early. Oh, it'll save you a ton of frustration.
Yeah.
All right. And, I want to add something. One of the things we had for a long time was, when you go to the blog, we had a service through FeedBurner where you could add your email address and get the posts like each day when you would post something or, each day that you post something on the blog, it would email to the list of people who subscribe to it. So they're not, you're subscribed to the blog posts. So you don't have to remember, hey, I got to go back and check, Take Control ADHD for a new tool, et cetera. And it was just really spotty. It wasn't working very well. And Google's support of FeedBurner has been really limited, and so it was sort of broken for a long time. Well, that's fixed, and you can now subscribe to the blog. If you go to the website, takecontroladhd.com, click on the blog, and there's a little place that says subscribe, a little button right there on the right. Click on that, add your email address, and you will once again be receiving the blog each day.
Yes. Each time there's a new post.
Each time there's a new. It's not every day. It's what are you posting? Twice a week?
I'm
posting
once a week for the podcast and then once a week for the blog.
Okay.
And they usually are going to be a theme and they're going to, piggyback each other.
Yeah, they're related.
They're related in some way. Yeah.
Right.
So
easy.
Good stuff.
There you go. All right. Hey, thanks everybody for downloading, for listening, for subscribing for free in iTunes. We sure appreciate it. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.